Gibraltar are one of the worst footballing nations in the entire world, ranked 198th. Today, I'm giving each of the teams in the Gibraltar Football League £100 million every single season. That's £1.1 billion going into the Gibraltar Football League every single year. I'm then going to simulate into the future to see how far up the European rankings Gibraltar can get, hopefully ending with one of the teams winning the Champions League. I'm simming 175 plus years into the future to the year 2200. So stick around to see who's on top. This is going to be a slow process for Gibraltar, so let's go to 25 years into the future to see how much progress that they've made. So we're here 25 years into the future and no team has won a Champions League yet, which I guess is to be expected. But the league has made a massive rise, rising from 114th to 43rd in just 25 years, which is very promising. The national team has also improved significantly, going from 201st when we started the simulation and jumping all the way up to 119th this year. That's around 80 places that they've improved by. And they've also been higher in previous years, reaching 110th in 2046. Moving back to the league, the teams in the league have been putting their money to good use, upgrading their training facilities and youth recruitment pretty much across the whole board, which will be vital if they want to produce any of their own wonder kids that come from their own clubs, which they can sell for massive profits. In terms of the league, it's been absolutely dominated by Lincoln. We've simulated 25 years into the future, and so far they've won 20 of those 25 years that we've simulated, which is just insane. Let's now jump another 25 years, which will bring us to 50 years in total into the future, and see how far up Gibraltar has made it. Okay, and we are now 50 years into the future. Let's start by having a look at the European competitions. Okay, and it looks like none of the teams have actually won any of the European competitions yet, which is pretty disappointing. None of the teams have actually even made it to the Europa Conference League final yet, so I must say I'd hoped for better 50 years into the future. I'd really thought that by now some of these clubs with getting 100 million every single year would at least be able to make it far in the Europa Conference League. Hopefully the national team has done a bit better, and it looks like they have, rising from 111th when we last checked in the FIFA rankings to now being 88th in the world. So not as big of a jump as last time, but it's still a jump regardless. In terms of the national team competitions, we still haven't seen Gibraltar make any of the Euros or the World Cup yet, which I guess that's to be expected seeing they're only ranked 87th in the world at the moment. Moving over to the league now and having a look, it seems like they've gone from 43rd all the way up to 27th. So at this rate, they should be in the top 10 in no time. Looking into the winners of the league, and yes, it is still dominated by Lincoln. Since we last checked, they've won the league 23 times in 25 years, which is just a 2-year absence from the top of the table in 2060 and 2061. Giving us a total of 43 league wins in 50 years, which I don't think I've seen that on Football Manager in a very long time. For a team who has been so dominant in the league, you'd expect them to have at least had some success in European competitions, so let's go have a look. And it looks like they haven't, only reaching the Champions League phase twice and not making it out either time, which is very disappointing considering that they're so dominant in the league. Lincoln has done a bit better in the Europa League, however, as they've made it all the way to the round of 16, where they got knocked out 3 years in a row. So, more disappointment for Lincoln. And finally, having a look at Lincoln's Conference League record, they made it to the quarterfinal in 2067, but then they lost to the Young Boys. So, really, really disappointing considering that they're easily the best team in Gibraltar. So now I'm just going to let the game sim another 50 years, which will bring us to 100 years into the future, and that'll be the year 2123. Hopefully by then Gibraltar's made some really big improvements, making the Euros and the World Cups and really having some of their own real wonder kids. And hopefully the Gibraltar Football League teams have actually won some European competitions, because so far they've been really disappointing. Alright, and it looks like we've had some success with Man 62 winning the Europa Conference League in 21-19. This is the only team from Gibraltar that I can see that has won a European competition, however, which is a bit disappointing considering that they've had £110 billion pumped into the league over the course of the 100 years that we've been on here. For the league though, surely this means that Lincoln have been dethroned as the powerhouse in Gibraltar. And it looks like, yes, I was right. Lincoln are no longer dominant in the league, which is just so much better for all of the teams in the league. So much better for them to reach the top of Europe as more and more teams get a chance to play in the European competitions. And it looks like a bunch of teams have actually swooped in on the success with multiple different winners of the league over the last few years. And the league itself has had a slight rise as well, going from 27th last time we checked in 50 years ago to into the top 20 now. And I'd expected that the league would be a bit better by now, but it actually looks like they were as high as 11th just a couple of years ago. Moving to the nation of Gibraltar itself, we can see that they've made another jump up in the standings from 87th all the way up to 61st overall now. They are lagging a little bit behind, but a jump is still a jump. And it looks like they still haven't made the World Cup. I don't know when this is going to happen. They've had so much money pumped into this country. So the national team really needs to just get these local teams to be pumping out some local wonder kids. And in terms of the Euros, it is the same story, with them only making it to the group stage one single time, and that was in the year 2096. So that's almost 30 years ago, which is just too long of a gap when you have a league with this much money being pumped into it. And at the moment, the best Gibraltarian is Mark Westwood, who plays for Nantes in France, and he's worth a lot of money here, as we can see. So Gibraltar is producing some world-class players, but obviously it's not enough. So obviously this 100 years into the future hasn't been enough, so let's kick it up a notch and see Gibraltar dominating the world footballing scene by moving all the way to the year 2200, which is 77 more years into the future. And if they haven't made it successful by then, I actually don't know what I'm going to do, because it just seems like it's never going to happen at this point. Okay, we've made it to the year 2200. It's been a long time simming, but let me tell you this, it's worth it, because there has been some massive changes that have happened inside of Gibraltar. So let's go start with the league. Alrighty, so the league, as we can see, is now in 11th place, which is nuts. They were as high as 9th place in 2195, so that's really high up in the leagues. I would have hoped that they would have been in the top 5, but you can't be too upset with 11th place in the world for league. And moving to the league winners, when we left off it was 21-23, and since then it's been insane. So for a few years it was up in arms who was winning, and then you can see College 75 win 2 in a row here, and then it just keeps going forever. They just win so many leagues in a row. Lions get one in there, but like, it's just crazy. And then Lincoln have won a few in recent times, but it's just mainly been College just dominating. Moving to College's homepage, they've got 5 stars everything, 260 million in the bank, which is just ridiculous. Their best player is John Morales, he's pretty good. But if we move to their competitions, they came runners-up in the Champions League in 2181, which I think that's the best that I've seen for any of the clubs so far. And they actually came runners-up in the FIFA Club World Cup in 2177 and the Europa League, and runners-up in the Conference League. So they haven't been able to win anything but the league. Any of these European competitions, they just shouldn't even bother playing the final, because they know that they're going to lose. Moving to the Europa Conference League, we left off last time with Man 62 being the only Gibraltar team that had won a European competition, and I'm safe to say that has changed. If we move up here a bit, we can see that Glasses United, I'm pretty sure I'm butchering that name, but we can see that they've won the Europa Conference League in 2142. Moving on, we can see the year that College actually lost to Leicester in the Conference League final. And then since then we have Lincoln winning it in 2167, which is also very good. After Lincoln, it was the Magpies who won it in 2186-87, and then they lost it in 2192-93. And no other Gibraltar club has won it since then. But there's a few there. There's a few clubs making it to the final of the Europa Conference League. So it seems to me like they've really established themselves in Europe as a pretty decent footballing nation. Heading now to the Europa League, we see the Lions coming runners-up in 2164-65 and College losing it again in 2167-68. Before Man 62 win the Europa League in 2184-85, which I think that means they're the most successful team. I know they haven't won the most leagues, but they've been the most successful in Europe, winning the Conference League and now the Europa League. Coming to the Champions League, the only mention of Gibraltar teams is in 2180-81 when College lost to PSG. Moving to the nation, when we checked in, they were 61st, and you can see that they're now 46th, which I guess is alright, but I'd expected them to at least make it into the top 20 by now. Moving to their records, we can see that their best world ranking was 35th in June of 2166, which was 35 years ago, so they really haven't been that good. Moving to the competitions, we can see that they did make it to the World Cup twice in 2150 and 2166. They did make it to the round of 16 in 2150, their first year in the World Cup, which I think that's a really good achievement for your first time in the World Cup. After that, they only made the second round, but at least they're not getting knocked out in the group stages. Coming to the Euros, they didn't make it for a while after we last checked in, which was 2096, but they did make it to the quarterfinal in 2164, losing to Slovakia, which I think that's really good to make it to the quarterfinal. Just quickly, I thought I'd show you the most dominant year that's ever happened in the Gibraltar Football League, because I thought it was very interesting. But you can see that Lincoln have won 24 of 25 games, only conceding 6 for an entire year of 25 games, which is nuts, finishing on 72 points. Other than that, here is the records page for the league. You can pause it and have a look through if you really want. But that will be the end of this experiment here today. I don't think my computer's going to be able to handle simming any further into the future, if I'm being completely honest. I thought that simming to the year 2200, which is 177 years, would be enough with 100 million each team each year to get Gibraltar up into the upper parts of the footballing world. But it seems like I was wrong, and there's probably a reason why they're near the bottom of the world rankings at the moment. But I'd really like to just say thank you guys so much for watching. I really appreciate it if you've watched this far. If you could just leave a like, comment, and also subscribe, that'd mean the world to me. Let me know any other challenges that you have thought of that I could maybe do in the comments below. And if you haven't watched my last challenge, which was 2 perfect managers, putting them in the National League and seeing what reputation does, click the video that's just here.